Police need your help tracking down a man who allegedly robbed a Wyoming gas station. The parents of 5-month-old Ryan thought they had buried their son here last February when he died. However, when police exhumed the urn this morning, it was empty. We are here on I-94 just west of Paw Paw, where there have been about a dozen accidents. And as you can see, emergency vehicles are still trying to clean up the mess. The so-called affluenza teen has been sentenced to nearly 2 years in jail. Today, Attorney General Bill Schuette and MSP announced that felony charges have been filed against former state representatives Cindy Gamrat and Todd Courser. Officials have just wrapped up a news conference here at the Grand Rapids Home for Veterans, discussing an audit where many alarming issues have been found. A matter of misconduct for 2 state officials now turns to the court system. Today, Attorney General Bill Schuette and MSP announced that felony charges have been filed against former state representatives Cindy Gamrat and Todd Courser. Todd Courser could be facing up to 30 years in jail if convicted of all 4 felony charges he's against, 1 of perjury and 3 of misconduct in office. Cindy Gamrat will be charged with 2 counts of misconduct, each carrying up to 5-year sentences. These charges relate back to last September when the Michigan Department of Attorney General and Michigan State Police began looking into the affairs of Courser and Gamrat.
I stated it would be conducted without fear or favor.
This extensive investigation spanned back to 2014 when both former officials were elected into office. Information from cell phones, computers, and email accounts from the 2 were analyzed and called into question.
We're demonstrating that no one is beyond the reach of the law, not even those who make laws.
The former officials were caught lying during the House Business Office investigation. This misconduct stemmed from concerns over Courser and Gamrat asking staff to send false emails and to sign documents that only legislators have the power to do.
Only legislators sign legislative proposals.
This misconduct dives into the personal lives of the former officials as Courser and Gamrat were engaged in an extramarital affair and cover-up scandal that surfaced in 2015. Government emails and funds were used in an attempt to hide the affair. The Attorney General says this is one of the reasons government is put into question.
We live in a time when people wonder, does wink and a nod justice or lack of justice rule the day?
As a result, Bill Schuette explains that Courser and Gamrat did not fulfill their duties to the people they served.
It's called trust. It's called judgment. It's called honesty. But Representatives Courser and Gamrat, sadly, failed to serve their constituents in an honorable fashion.
Both Courser and Gamrat's attorneys were contacted and warrants for their arrest were issued. However, neither party was arraigned today. We are here on I-94 just west of Paw Paw, where there have been about a dozen accidents. And as you can see, emergency vehicles are still trying to clean up the mess. A sloppy start to the afternoon on this busy highway. A car loses control, crashing into the guardrails. Inches of packed snow blanketing roads, making for a wet and icy mess.
We ended up having multi-semi-trucks getting hit and jackknifing. We've got a tanker that leaked a lot of oil onto the roadway.
Oil pouring out of the back of this semi, crews acting fast to clean up the mess. And then yet another string of crashes, bringing traffic to a standstill.
One gentleman went underneath the back of a semi-truck that had jackknifed, and so he was extricated and transported.
A highway closed for several hours after multiple crashes, Sergeant Campbell says, caused by slick roads and speeding.
You have to slow down and give yourself room.
The parents of 5-month-old Ryan thought they had buried their son here last February when he died. However, when police exhumed the urn this morning, it was empty. This isn't the first incident of its kind for Thomas Klock, director of Klock Funeral Home. An investigation began after Klock had been pulled over in his van in January for drunk driving. Days later, the remains of 86-year-old Helen Anthony were found in the back of that same vehicle. The family thought they had buried her remains at a cemetery held shortly after she passed away earlier in December, but that was not the case. The investigation continued at the Klock Funeral Home, where many urns were found with remains still in them. Police say this isn't uncommon.
What is unusual is having the cremains and then yet still suggesting that they've been properly interned.
However, in Ryan's case, the infant's remains were found at the Klock Funeral Home despite internal records showing his remains had been buried in February of 2015 at the Fruitland Township Cemetery.
Kind of relive everything. I think it's I can only imagine the anguish that they're feeling, you know.
Ryan passed away of premature complications, and his death certificate indicates that Klock did in fact sign off on Ryan's cremation.
Well, the staff that was out there being parents themselves, I'm sure, have a feeling of frustration from that whole aspect.
Now another family reliving the grief over the loss of their loved one.
The apparent lack of respect that was given to the family, and especially to the little infant that had passed.
We did reach out to Ryan's family, however, they did not want to discuss the matter in further detail at this time. Klock is still being held on bond for several charges and is expected to be at a motion hearing on March 21st.